Hello, everybody. We've been talking and totally lost track of time. So, yeah, hi. Let's see. Welcome to Behind the Screen, a DM talk show. I am your moderator. Well, our moderator is Knight. I'm more facilitator. There we go. I'm your facilitator, nerdy teacher. And today we have with us Daisy Chain, HomebreHimbo, and Dark Crescent Studios. We have a nice small group today for a really good, I want to say intimate conversation, but considering the conversation we were having, yeah, Jay lost it. Uh, you'll find out. But anyway, let's go around and tell everybody where you can find, our lovely guests. We'll start with Daisy Chain.
Hi, I'm Daisy. You can find me Daisy Chainsaw 999 pretty much across any social media platform. I do not have a big social media presence, just because I tend to be more of a private person. But if you're interested to track me down, you are more than welcome to do so.
Awesome. How about HomebreHimbo?
I am the HomebreHimbo. You can find me on most platforms between Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever it is, all under the same moniker of HomebreHimbo. I make nerdy things, and sometimes I'm funny.
He also makes dice. Do you want to plug your dice store?
Not at the moment because we are under renovation.
Fair. Okay. But we also have another DM / dice maker in here, Dark Crescent Studios. Please tell us about you.
Hi! I've been here a few times, but Dark Crescent Studio, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, sometimes on Twitter. I'm not really on there much. But I am a dice maker, hat maker, dragon maker. I do a lot of things. Do a lot of fun, nerdy stuff as well, mostly for home side of things rather than social media side of things, but happy to be back.
Awesome. All right. So 3 out of 4 of us are still coming down from the very exhausting weekend that was the Norse Forge Gathering. It was amazing for me to go and meet a bunch of people. I loved meeting HomebreHimbo. I met in person. Jay, I met in person. I got to meet Teeny, who's always in chat and is not here today, it looks like. But I will say we are tired. We are very sleepy. So if I start slurring again like I did 2 sessions ago because I was tired, that is why. Hopefully it doesn't cause a meme to happen again. But the last time I was trying
is delightful.
The last time I was trying to say it was all gumdrops and rainbows, and for some reason it came out as gumdrops and rangers, and now
That's
there's
better than where I was expecting that to be.
Now there's a potential Candyland campaign happening somewhere. But got that out of the way.
That could be fun.
I did have a lot of fun at the gathering, and I also proved my superiority in puns so bad they broke the Nerf gun that was retaliation towards me.
Yes, I had a Nerf gun that was supposed to be used against him, whatever he used a pun against me, and it broke day 2 of 4. So that was pretty kicked off. But I got my retaliation in reminding him about the game.
Which we have all now lost.
Yes.
With love.
But fair. If you don't know the game, Google it. You'll find it.
You're now playing.
You are now playing about the game. Yep, have fun. Anyway, what were we talking about? Right. So before stream, we were all doing our sound check and hanging out, and we came across a collective conversation topic. Josh. Yeah, anyway. But
you walked right into it. I don't know what you expected.
I didn't intend to. Anyway, as we are talking, if anyone in chat has a question that they would like to pose to any of us, there is a link that will be in chat where you can leave a question for us as DMs, as players, as TTRGP enthusiasts. If you want to shoot us a random question, go for it. If we like it, we will put it up and we will answer it. But the conversation happened to come to pass is adding romance to the game, which is not something that we have talked about in detail yet on a stream. So now I am curious. I will say to start, my characters do like to, some characters, or my players have characters that like to have one night stands. Some characters like to be in relationships. We always fade to black. Sometimes there's fan fiction written that's sent back and forth, in the works, but we never do anything explicit at the table because I feel like most people would find that uncomfortable. But maybe there are some tables that do. But have you, as DMs, ever put romance into the game, either intentionally or unintentionally? And what have you used to help facilitate that?
I'll go first. I have. I have a player who enjoys the spicier book genre, and as well as myself. So she very much wrote her character to be one that could pretty much get her way with whatever she wanted. So there's usually a lot of flirting, a lot of give and take, a lot of touchy-feely. I don't ever let them get beyond a point where it would feel uncomfortable for the rest of the players, but I do enjoy seeing the rest of the players kind of turn red in the cheeks and start to get a little shy. But nothing spicy ever happens. What usually happens is that I leave her to do her thing with whatever this NPC is, and then I cut to the rest of the group, who usually by this point has traveled off to do whatever else just to not be in this situation.
Fair. That is more than fair, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
The unfortunate part is it did get her character kidnapped at one point.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing at chat.
Oh dear, I gotta go check chat.
She did, start flirting with the city guard there and decided that he was going to be her contact point for a lot of secret information and things that she needed to know for the group. And she rarely spends a night in her own, room. So, it got her kidnapped at one point because she was about to leave. They didn't want her to, and yeah.
Whoopsies!
The rest of the party might have had to go and save her.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Make sure you bring protection. At least full plate.
I knew that was coming. It's less effective if I see it coming.
That was the goal.
I mean, sometimes you want a surprise.
This is why I said I'm not an adult. I'm a child with a drinking permit.
I know as far as my campaigns go, I've not directly had anybody very much interested in participating in anything like that. Anytime someone has been sort of interested, 9 times out of 10 the dice don't agree, and therefore nothing comes of it. There was one time one of my IRL companions was playing a character who was used their sexual presence as a way of getting information out of people and basically being an assassin. It never actually devolved into those scenarios because as soon as they go into a bedroom, it was, tying someone up and murdering them or torturing them for information, not the fun stuff.
Well,
in fact, their entire character was based off of a song called Pretty Lavinia.
Let's see. The
With-
character that I can think of right now, the player that I have, she has an interesting romance going on in the story because originally she had a character that was romancing one of the other player characters at the table, and they had a very cute uh, black cat golden retriever boy kind of relationship. Unfortunately, the golden retriever boy had to move, so he was unable to continue playing our campaign. Um, Before that, I had thrown in an NPC that was completely supposed to be just like a little wrench in the story, just like someone that was going to fall in love with her and just make this golden retriever boy actually do something about this relationship, you know, like plunge into it, say that he loved her, something like that. I was trying to force his hand there by having somebody try and steal her away from him. And she fell hard for that NPC. Honestly, I suppose I wrote him as like kind of like a dark fantasy esque drow, and she fell hard. So I would say lines to her like one thing that he said to her I remember was, "You have no idea what I would do for one night with you." And she would like turn red at the table, and I would see the other player just like not get angry, but just go, "Can't beat that, damn." So when his character actually had to move away, she was really saddened by that because she enjoyed the role play, but she was also kind of like, "Can we go back to that town and go see that NPC one more time, please? Can he somehow be in this city now?"
Nice.
So romance has come up quite a lot in our games, and not always for the best. Sometimes it ends very badly. Does anyone ever have a story of like a romance story that ended poorly?
I don't necessarily think that we've had romance in our games that's ended poorly, other than spectators accidentally walking in on things that they did not mean to walk in on and got traumatized. But
What's life without a little bit of trauma?
I
It
mean, when you
builds
walk
character.
in on a goblin, a Goliath, and a Luxodon, I mean, that poor dwarf was traumatized.
Player 4 entered the chat. No.
That
I-
no.
It would not have surprised me. I think the only games that we've had, other than, like mentioned before, about doing a fade to black, I think the only one that I've necessarily either ran or been a player in that's had more of any type of romance or even just that extra side of things was our Vampire the Masquerade games.
Mm.
Just because, like, and hilariously enough, it was actually my character. She got a lot of her information by going to what is known as Asylum in that game. So it's a club that's ran that's more of a kink side of things, and she believes that that may have been how somebody found her for her to be turned. So, but even then, there hasn't been a whole lot of like delving past, okay, and you go back there and do whatever it is that you're going to do.
Knight says in chat that he is running, or he has a text-based game that is very adult themed. You bring up an interesting idea about sealing a pact with your patron in certain ways.
I definitely did not read that as D&D patron. I thought this was a live streamed event with some very
Oh.
special friends, and I
No,
just
not
was going to
Patreon. We're
gloss
not
over
talking about
that.
Patreon, okay?
Okay.
Ooh, no.
I mean, if you got enough bits, if you got the right bits.
That's a different tier, okay? That's not Twitch, that's Clapper. If you don't know what Clapper is, go Google it, okay? Well, maybe you don't want to. I don't know, but I did have one interesting problem come up with because of a romance in my campaign. The first campaign I ran. Okay, first of all, there's this little side tangent here. The first campaign I ran, my husband was playing a dragonborn, excuse me, who was basically a fuckboy. He was just going to go around and play. He was a bard monk combination. He just wanted to play music and get laid. And why? Why is it that when he plays this character, this specific character, he comes up with the most flirtatious lines I have heard in my 12 years of being with this man? 12 years of marriage, I've never heard any flirtatious lines from him. And then suddenly he can say it at a D&D table. What the fuck, dude? Even he doesn't know why.
It's the disconnect of your brain sitting here going, this is them talking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretend. And it's okay if I screw it up. But if I'm talking to the person that I care about, oh no, there's real feelings and real emotions, and I could fuck this up. And
Fair.
So I have a very bad habit of twisting almost like straight up Shyamalan twists in my campaigns and stuff. One of the twists I have coming up, because I'm fairly certain none of my players are watching, the nerdy, like self-conscious, introverted Furbolg wizard who speaks with a stutter. In fact, so much so that I literally stop double checking how I speak and I go to my natural stutter.
Oh.
And actually, I think it's more stammer than stutter. I don't know the difference, to be honest. But
Fair.
the point is, I have him speak like that. Well, there's a good chance, unless I change my mind, because that happens a lot, that I'm going to make him into one of the villains of the series, whether of his own volition or mind control. And when that happens, I'm going to remove his stammer. And I already have a line because I know full well that if not my wife, one of the other players is going to say that they were played like a fiddle.
Oh no.
And I have in my notes just a quote of, "No, darling, fiddles are beautiful, elegant instruments. I played you like the fucking kazoo you are."
Ouch.
That's beautiful.
But I very much do that a lot with like having an NPC that's very lovable, something that the players want to latch onto and hold on to, and then going, you know what if I just make it so you don't like them anymore, or something like that.
Oh. Man.
And I very much will use like romance as that manipulation too.
I mean, the romance that ended poorly in my campaign, it's weird how it went down. The fuckboy dragonborn. My brain is done. Okay, the fuckboy
Words are hard,
dragonborn,
it's
A board
okay.
dragon.
who is a bard, yeah. He came across this monk woman who was training him, and she was very much of the same mindset. Like, you know, any port in a storm, you know, I just want to have fun for one night and move on. And they started to develop a kinsmanship, if not an actual relationship that neither one of them expected. And at some point, another character in the party kind of like asked him, why aren't you actually like doing this? Why aren't you in a relationship with her? Why are you still having affairs with other people when it's very obvious that you like this girl? And that really hit home for this character, and he just kind of like separated from her. And for the rest of the campaign, it was very much a tense, you know, are they or are they not going to kind of situation. And it ended up that they never got back together after that. And I kind of I don't like that because my NPC, I was like, she really likes him. Fuck. But I don't know. It at least didn't cause tension between players or something. But the player who did speak up and tried to, get him to actually form a relationship with her, those two characters didn't get along for a little while. So I don't know. Romance is fun to add, but it can also fuck things up if it goes sour.
I will say
Just
that
like-
almost sounds like either the character is built around it or the player might be lithromantic. That means that if you can have a romantic attraction to somebody until those feelings are reciprocated, at which point you no longer have those feelings.
Oh, maybe. That's
entirely
interesting.
possible.
Here, my players just insisted that when their keep was being built, that there was an extra level of dungeons for the goblin and the Goliath, so that nobody would have to hear the macaroni sounds, was the direct quote that I was given.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Anyway, if you do want to add some romance to your game, you guys were mentioning some interesting things that were out and about in the world right now that you could use. Jay, you mentioned a Kickstarter. Let's start with that because that is a timed thing. You only have 40 something more days to join it.
Yeah, so it was the first book of this particular series is out already, and I cannot remember if physical books are out yet already and have been shipped, because I know I just backed it for the PDF version because I was broke as hell at the time. But the one that's a really fun 5e source book, because I have looked through it and it's got a lot of really good art, it's got a lot of really good things, is called Kinks and Cantrips. So it is legitimately just straight up a fun TTRPG book that helps either add in a little bit of extra or set a whole campaign to a lot of different fun, weird things in the kink community. And this is the very first one is a 210 page book that, to quote from the Kickstarter page, for a material of a whole slew of kinks, ranging from bondage to gentle domination, from ABO to teratophilia, from asexuality to polyamory. There's something for everyone and a whole lot more to discover. And it's got, like, game mechanics to represent pain and pleasure, an entire new class for you to play as, 26 new subclasses, so 2 for each base 5e class, 5 different races and species, 80 different spells, 50 different magic items, bestiaries. It's an entire fleshed out campaign setting, escape encounters, various backgrounds, so like, it's a lot. And it's really, really entertaining. And there is a sample PDF on the Kickstarter that you can get. And then there's the advanced Kinks and Cantrips that is basically a extra weird, like, hey, let's expand upon this because we can, that's going on right now. So there's just a lot, and it's amusing. So if that's one of the things that, like, your players are, hey, why not? But that's obviously going to be something that you are very, very much so going to want to have sit down and do a session 0 for of,
oh hell yeah,
do we want to do this? What are we okay with? What is the night you're lucky we are not at the gathering with the Nerf guns, because I saw that in chat. But yeah, just obviously make sure that you are sitting down and being like, hey, this was an idea that I had to add, or do we want to, or do we want to be, have a entire campaign set around this if you are adding something like this to your campaign or starting a campaign, absolutely make sure to have a session 0 and sit down with all the players and be like, what am I okay with? What are we not okay with? Or do we want to implement like a flag system where you can be like, hey, I thought I was okay with this. Let's step back and be like, maybe not.
To be fair, you should be having that sort of session 0 with your players, regardless of what the concept of your campaign is about.
Oh yes, I agree.
We had
Not
some other
me.
conversation in our session 0, and it was just a matter of what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with. If we were to do something a little more spicy, we want to make sure that everybody's comfortable. And it turns out quite a few players in my campaign, at least, weren't comfortable with super spice, which is fine. To be honest, as a DM, I'm not sure that I'm comfortable running that for a ton of people. So that worked out pretty well. But they don't mind doing the easy stuff that's going to get them like a deal on a horse or some kind of magic item that they want to buy.
Not me absolutely copying and pasting a link about the first book to people in the Mountain of Mystery game. But
I may have also added an additional link for some people.
I am horrified about the idea. I'm super impressed that I thought this was just, you're going to be like, how can you add this to your game? No, this is a freaking world with a fleshed out setting and characters and locations. This is it's a freaking module almost.
Yeah, it is.
Shut up, Josh.
I mean, if you're gonna cram it in like that, at least give us a warning.
I want to know, and I don't want to know about the spells and magic items and creatures made for a kinky campaign.
I mean, I can send you screenshots later.
Oh dear.
Again, I backed that. I have it.
Wait, I'm looking at the table of contents. Bestiaries include...
Honestly, looking at everything on that's definitely something I could get behind.
Why does the bestiary include dragons? Oh god.
I'm sorry.
Why is there a
Did
Shiba
you
Inu
actually
under the
ask
bestiary?
Did you actually ask that with a straight face?
It was more of why. There's a bestiary called Booby Trap, really?
Yes.
I could... Okay. Under backgrounds, the new backgrounds, there is meat marketer. I have to ask, what kind of meat are they marketing? That could go multiple ways here.
I feel like the answer is yes.
Dear. Okay.
Well, that would be an option too.
College of Brats Bard?
See,
oh my god, yes.
See, this is why one of my preferred races is actually Warforged. I love Data from Star Trek. He's anatomically correct. And interchangeable parts.
Way of the Wick Monk. Where was the other one? Circle of the Tamer.
That sounds awesome, actually.
Circle of the Tamer. Oh my god.
Welcome, Underdeep. You are listening to a more adult conversation than I think this channel has really had before.
Why Sublime Slithering Warlock? I gotta buy this now just because I'm so confused. What the heck? Sublime Slithering Warlock.
What page does it say that it's on?
154? Not us totally getting derailed by kinky stuff. I mean,
absolutely. So the spell list includes entangle, as tendrils,
Good.
Hideous laughter, alter self, ray of enfeeblement, bestow cursed, spirit guardians, black tendrils, vitriolic sphere, dominate person, and telepathic bond.
I mean, the things you could do with spirit guardians.
Right?
This just got
Aren't we all,
weird.
So,
we are all 47 years into puberty.
again, I am not an adult. I am a child with a drinking permit.
Derailed, railed, re-railed.
Mm-hmm.
Haney, welcome.
So the Sublime Slithering Warlock is essentially tentacles. It is a, be it an aquatic leviathan or a horror from the outer reaches of reality, the warlocks who have taken upon themselves a fragment of the Sublime Slithering have made a pact that allows them to summon tendrils of these creatures. The more devoted will give themselves over to the tentacles, using their body as a host to allow more of the Sublime Slithering's power to manifest.
Nice.
So for those just joining us,
That reminds me of my
we're
favorite
talking
quote.
about the Kinks and Cantrips Kickstarter and adding
I'm not
romance to the
apologizing.
games.
One of
We
my
are
players-
we are past romance. Okay, I'm just saying we are
One-
not in romance territory anymore.
One of my players straight up referenced a meme when I had them play an Aboleth. In the either I'm hungry or I'm horny. Either way, that's going inside me.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Either calamari or it's a brand new hentai.
Well, we just spent over half an hour talking about romance. Was there, oh God, okay, was there anything else that we wanted to talk about? Resources for adding romance to the game.
So there's
Yeah,
this
that got
amazing
interesting.
there's this amazing book that you can get. It is third party for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. That this is not a new thing. This is copyright in 1992. It's called For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge: The Complete Guide to AD&D Sex. My favorite thing about this whole system is the complexity behind the magical STDs.
Please elaborate.
Some of my favorite ones being mummy crotch rot, orgasmic monster summoning, acid secretion, and sexual clairvoyance. Oh, and bitchy magical syndrome, BMS. Now there are it's a percentile based system. Or not percentile based system, but it's often percentile determined what level you're getting, or D8s, D20s, and whatnot to determine which one of these things you're getting, and also for D20 to determine the duration of how long you can have it, including the onset being instant and the duration being until death. Now these are the magical STDs. There's also in this book sexual insanity, which can be due to a curse or like a psionic attack or from a disease itself if you do not get it cured. And my favorite thing about the sexual insanity is it does include things such as necrophilia, but it also includes sexophobia and bitch mania. So like there's so much to it, and that's just like a couple of the chapters. There are also chapters for like if you need more proficiencies to things that aren't necessarily weapons. So there's non-weapon proficiencies, which include like contortion and massage and whatnot. It's just the book is very expansive, and the fact that I was able to find it on Google in a sort of PDF style ability makes me very happy, because I like pulling from second edition to bring into fifth edition, because a lot of people don't actually realize that what you're pulling from second edition doesn't work in fifth edition. and you can just play with the numbers as much as you want. Yes.
I was listening, but I have officially pledged to the Kickstarter now. Okay. Crap. And
Also,
there is
because it was
a
mentioned-
combination where you can get the previous copy or the first book as well, along with the second book. Anyway, back to the
since we were
topic at
talking
hand.
about the booby traps, it is a mimic.
Nice.
The booby trap is a mimic.
I mean, are we surprised?
No.
Well then.
The only thing I'm disappointed in with that art is that it is coming out of her back.
I'm not describing it. Nope, not describing it on chat. Sorry, chat. You're out of luck. You have to buy the book to see what he's talking about. All right.
It's coming out of her back, not coming onto her back. Anyways.
You're gonna get us demonetized. But
Not if we
there
spell
have-
it right.
there is at least something to be said for talking about romance at session 0 of your games, whether or not you are comfortable with either running this kind of stuff, or if you are comfortable with it, but some of the players aren't. It could be something that a few players want to do and a few don't. You'd have to figure out at your table what they are comfortable with. One of the questions that I always have on a questionnaire that I use for session 0 is, do you want anyone to flirt with your character, romance your character, and anything from there? Is there anything that's off the table from there? I have some players that are okay with flirting, but anything past that they don't want to do. And then I've had players that no longer play at my table, but it was a couple, and one of them got jealous because an NPC was flirting with one of their partner's characters. That was a red flag. And he was like, okay, time for you to go. It's like, it's a game, and I will respect that you don't want me to flirt with your spouse's character, but if you can't separate the game and your person, that can lead to issues later on.
I feel like the best example of that is watching Critical Role, where Matt and Marisha are married, Laura and Travis are married, and especially in like campaign 1, where Laura's character and Talison's character are having a full-on marriage, and her husband is their biggest fan of this.
Yes, exactly.
Because Travis absolutely shipped the hell out of Max and Percy. Like, he was their biggest fan for that. There is very much so the, hey, let's please make sure to remember distinguishing reality from fiction.
All right. And sometimes there are things that you're gonna be
Nerdy, you appear to have lost audio.
Yep. It is not better. Nope.
No.
No, we lost her. Anarchy.
I feel like that's my fault for like.
now.
Yeah, it's good now.
Hey.
It's right after I pinged you on that server.
You're fine. My husband tried to call me because he is at his in-laws and totally forgot what I'm doing tonight. Thank you, sweetheart. Love you too. Anyway, what was I talking
Well, some
about?
things are more important, as in being saved from in-laws.
Speak for
It's
yourself.
like,
love
I will
my
call you
in-laws. My
later.
in-laws are great.
My wife's in-laws are great.
He says sorry. I'll call you later. Thank you. Okay. All right. Got that taken care of. Speaking of relationships, there we go.
I will say one of the more fun things that happens in my campaign is while we may not, I already had a session 0, and basically all my players agreed that romance wasn't really something they were interested in doing. That does not stop one of my players from attempting to seduce every character they run across, because their charisma is so low, they know they're going to fail, and they do so in a spectacularly funny way. It also does not prevent one of my best friends from pseudo flirting with me directly, because he doesn't it doesn't matter if we're playing D&D, he does that in person, and especially at the gathering. Popo is amazing and basically my brother, and also there is few things more fruity than when we are hanging out together.
I can attest to that. There was quite a bit said at the table.
Oh, you don't want to know what was threatened about the threats he makes about climbing into my tent with me.
Just threats?
Well, yeah, usually by the time I'm heading to my tent, he's tired too and wants to go back to his Airbnb.
Fair.
This is why I locked my car.
The worst part is my wife has full on agreed to it and like made sure that no matter what, there's always the opportunity.
All right. Well, let's switch gears here. I know that Jay and I have talked about a really cool thing that we're going to talk about in a little bit, but Jay and Rusty have both been on the show before. So let's give a little attention to Daisy over there. How are your cats doing, by the way? Are they behaving?
They are. They're one snoozing in her throne. That's what I call it, and the other is on the floor over here.
Awesome. So, Daisy, as a first time on this channel, when did you start being a DM?
A little over a year ago, actually. I've played for quite a few years. I brought in a friend when we had an available slot open in our game. We'd been through a couple of DMs at that point, and our DM left us to move to Scotland or Ireland. I forget where he went, but he went overseas, and there was no way that he was going to have a game at like 3 o'clock in the morning for us. So I stepped in and I said, I'll do it, you know, who wants to join? And some did come in and some didn't. And that, you know, left me trying to scramble and find some new players to fill in the rest of the slots. And I did. We've got kind of a great group now. It took, you know, if you're planning on being a DM, just be patient, because people think they want to play D&D until they realize it's a commitment. And then they're out. They're like, oh, I can't do this.
Wait, we meet every Saturday? What?
Yeah. I don't think they really fully understand, and then they don't really understand too that they have to actually do some studying with their characters, and really dive deep into what it is they're playing. So be patient, because you will eventually find some people who actually want to stick with it. And I went through that with quite a few players, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is definitely true. I have lost players because they just did not want to keep up with that commitment, or they had other things come up. And I understand completely. It's the life of the DM.
Yep.
The revolving door at the table.
Scheduling is the ultimate BBEG of any campaign.
Yep, it sure can be. Well, and unfortunately, mental health can be too, because if you're playing and you've got a player that has a lot of like life changes, that can change how they feel about continuing, you know, a weekly commitment. So, you know, just be understanding with your players, and just listen to them.
Absolutely. And be understanding to your DMs too, because we also will hit seasonal depression and not be able to continue DMing for a little bit and need a break.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
Happens.
Mine wasn't necessarily seasonal depression. It's me doing 36 plus weekends a year at shows and conventions and going, something has to give, and my income is not that.
Yep.
Fair.
I will say there's one other thing as a new DM that you should be looking out for, and it is one that isn't normally brought up very often, but is definitely something that you should keep in mind. Not every player meets the same playstyle as the DM, and there are sometimes that you simply have to ask a player to leave or ask what they want out of your campaign, and if the two do not match up, sometimes the player must be let go to make sure that everybody has fun.
I think too it's a give and take, because if you do have a player who doesn't really see things the way that you kind of want them to go, and they have a different style, you can work with them to some extent. I know that I had one that was very much a how to put this, like standoffish. They didn't want to get into the fights, they didn't want to get into the arguments, and they would hold back the players that did want to do those things. So it was kind of okay, well, you go over there, we'll DM about what you're doing, with your player or your character while they figure whatever they're doing out.
Absolutely. And I personally had a situation that was the opposite, where one of the players was too gung-ho about things and wanted to do things a specific way, as like fast and straightforward as possible, while all the other players want to actually assess the situation, take a step back, plan everything out before taking a step forward. And that upset the one that wanted to keep pushing things forward quickly. So I took them aside and was like, hey, this is how everyone else wants to play. I'm not making them do this. That is how they're playing. Is there anything I can do that can either has you involved in their thought process, or like makes it so that you're still having fun, not necessarily jumping straight into the role play or the combat or the amassing an army of skeletons that you're trying to do?
I'll admit,
always
as
the
a player
necromancer.
I was in a campaign once where I had a player, or there was a player rather, in our group that did that. They just gung-ho every single time, let me beat the door down, let's just do this. And it's very nerve-wracking as a player. I can't even imagine as a DM, because I haven't had anybody play like that, but as a player, it's very nerve-wracking, because it's like, oh my god, am I gonna die today?
Oh no.
Do I have to re-roll?
Yeah. And I make it very clear on my session zeros that death is very possible in my campaign at any point. You could die eating soup. It's possible. I'm not gonna make it a common thing. I'm not gonna have you rolling to open a door. Usually. But but I do make it very clear to my players, hey, death is a thing. So I do encourage that step back and plan things out. But there has been a player of mine that decided he did not want to think things through and just wanted to do the thing. Meanwhile, after that player left, one of my other players decided that they did want to do that charging forward immediately after they thought things through. Like, everybody did their plans and stuff, and then as soon as there's a door, his first thing is to run through it. He has the title of Door Destroyer.
Oh no.
But that is like the joke with the character, and he has run into every trap I have set. But that's the give and take. He waits for everybody to plan their things out. He waits for them. He even helps give advice for the actual plan, and then everyone knows he's going to run through the door. Whereas the previous player didn't.
Include them running into the door as part of the planning.
Exactly, and that's what it became after the third door.
That honestly almost hilariously sounds like my ex-husband's character for our Curse of Strahd game, because he's playing an Echo Knight, because he's a giant half-orc who hates doors because he doesn't fit through them. So he uses his Echo to pop in and around doors because he refuses to deal with them.
Nice.
That's fair.
Doors, the bane of players everywhere.
Right?
I have my group of players they're all kind of newbies. They really haven't played. This is their first campaign. And I did tell them, I said, look, I'm going to take it easy on you. I'm not going to make sure that your character dies until you reach level 5. You are on your own at that point. If you cannot keep your character alive by level 5, we have a problem. And you need to start making better decisions or just not do the stupid thing.
Nah, I'm going to agree with you there. I do feel like there is a little bit of babying at level 1 and 2. You never want to kill somebody at level 2 unless you're Dustin, because he's done that. Anyway, trauma.
I have instead of a level grace period, I have a session grace period. You have 5 sessions where I won't intentionally kill you, and I will give you every benefit I can to keep you alive. But if you die, that's your own fault. At that point, that's just natural selection.
The DM is on your side, the monsters are not.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. You are not wrong.
That is how I explain that one to my players. The DM is on your side, the monsters are not. And there's a whole lot of nat 20s that I don't tell my players about.
Yeah, same. And a whole lot of hit points that I've been like, oh, maybe it's half of what I rolled.
Right. That is a conversation that we can talk about, since I'm going to double check one more time. Yeah, no, not a lot of questions tonight. That's okay. What do we feel about fudging rolls, either positively or negatively, to impact the story? Some people are highly against that. Some people love it.
I have told my players I will occasionally fudge down, but I will never fudge up. Because it is my job as a DM to help you tell a story and for all of us to have fun, with the exception of my holiday specials. Because my holiday specials, I am out for your blood. But at the end of that holiday special, all of my players get to wake up from a group fever dream with all of their shit back. So I don't feel bad chasing the level 4 player down with a challenge rating 20 turducken and stomping on them after they bullied me 3 sessions in a row.
Challenge rating 20 turducken.
Yes,
That's
it was
a
part of
phrase.
my thing.
You gotta bring out the abyssal one, the tur what the fucking?
No. At that point, I bring out the Turk Rask.
Valid.
That one was a challenge rating 30.
I know for myself, the dice are merely for the sound. The result is whatever I came up with during the idea of what was going to happen. All of my results are based on what I think pushes the story more. I use the dice to influence my decisions sometimes. If the dice roll low, I might have the result be even lower. If the dice roll high, I might have the result be even higher. And sometimes I will just straight up roll the dice, see the result, and go, that's not fun, and go with the opposite. That includes upping the number and making it so that a player gets hit when they normally wouldn't, because you know what, they haven't taken damage for a few sessions, or that player gets a benefit when they take damage, or whatever. Whatever the reason may be. I have one time faked a crit against my players because it made another one more useful.
Oh, okay.
Interesting idea.
So the dice rolls are more like guidelines than actual rules.
Exactly. But then again, that is why I am the homebrew himbo. Everything I do is made up.
Fair.
Only time I can't really get away with doing stuff like that is when Minion decides that she wants to help me. But that's half of how we taught Minion to recognize her numbers, was she would help Mommy with rolling dice for D&D, and now she helps Daddy because the last time she helped Mommy, she got 2 nat 20s on a multi-attack and almost killed her uncle's character.
Oh no. That's glorious.
So the tiny child is not allowed to help Mommy anymore.
That's glorious. Let's see. I'm more I stick with the dice because the dice want to tell a story. I'll fudge a couple here and there, but I also roll like shit as a DM. So if a nat 20 comes out, that nat 20 was meant to do something. Normally I will roll very well on performance checks when the romanced player character takes their NPC off screen. So yeah, performance checks. But I've talked about this before, but I had one session where my players were supposed to kill a false god, and it was the strongest thing that they were going to face up to this point in the campaign, and it was supposed to be deadly. It was supposed to be like, you will likely not survive this if you go in there and you don't have a plan. Well, they had a fucking plan, I'll tell you that. Okay. They managed to long story short, before the fight even started, they managed to get the god tied up. And I was like, okay, well, he's a god. He can get out of some rope. That's easy, right? So I start using all of his legendary actions and actions to basically try and escape this fucking rope. And I don't roll above a 3 the entire time. So in 2 rounds, they kill this god and took no damage whatsoever. And my players still talk about this as the most fun that they've had in a long time.
So they were following the guidelines out of that Kings and Cantrips for tying people up, is what I'm hearing. Sorry.
I think they were laughing at the table when they killed it, and they were also laughing and saying sorry to me at the same time, because I probably was like, it's fine. Not what I wanted, but it's fine. You know, I was pissed. But they had fun, and that's what matters. So the dice decided the story there.
They do.
All right. We are at 10:08, so we are officially into an hour of stream. Does anyone need a 5-minute break for a bio break or anything?
I should be good.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. Feel free to dip if you need to.
I can't do much for another couple hours because it's going to take that long for my creme brulee to set in the fridge.
Well, we will continue until about 10 to 11, and then we'll start our wrap up. So I want to bring up something that Jay showed me at the North Forge Gathering that I thought was incredibly cool. And I want to use it as an exercise of sort for adding characters' stories to your campaign. So, Jay, I have my somewhere here. I have my paper that we made, but would you explain to everybody what this? It's not a card game, but it's a set of cards. What is the set of cards, and what do they do?
So this particular system, and there's a couple of different systems that are like it because I have multiple different ones. The one that I went through with you is called Fatum, and I do have it out. I have everything for it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm also going to reach over and grab the other two because especially since we're doing the DM talk show right now, the other system is kind of really helpful as well. Oh, that was over farther than I thought it was. Ow. So the one system that I have is the Oracle generator. So the Oracle system is a lot of fun, and I do believe there may still be a Kickstarter for the monster generator, but I'm not 100% sure if that one closed or not. So this one that's really good for DMs is the story generator. So this one leads into contracts and bounties development for this particular deck, and it goes into things like a leader where you can roll a D4, and there's a mayor, a high priest, a noble, a monarch. Will hire you to terrorize, yada yada yada. The next portion of it is an aberration, and it'll give you an aberration to be able to roll to fulfill a challenge. But the subject is falsely accused, and then, you know, whatever the subject did to earn the bounty on their head, normally related to the intent, was not actually them. The transgression has been pinned on them, and then you can roll by. So this one in particular is, or this deck system is really nice for being like, okay, I don't know what kind of stupid crap to add to this. I'm throwing something together. The other deck is Epic Adventures Development, that has a bunch of different like little mini ones that you can put together. There's Political Intrigue, if you want to develop that for it. Relics and Artifacts is the other one for story. And then Simple Side Quests. So those are all part of the story generator side, which would be a great DM tool. Oracle also has, and this is put up by Nord Games, is who did these. So shout out to them for being awesome. They've also got the character generator, which is somewhat similar. Same kind of system. And then the one that I took you through is called Fatum. And that one is the one that is kind of personally my favorite between them, at least on the character generation side of things. Let me go ahead and I'm going to throw this light on. So I have both the regular set and the dark set, and then all of the extra little things that got put out over the years. So one of the things when you get those sets is you get this. And with the box set, I got both of them, and it sets out basically like a tarot reading. So one of the things that it goes through is you get your character, which is put there in the center. It gives you both a class and a race, and most of those race cards include, they're set up in a top and bottom, and the artwork for all of this is freaking gorgeous. So there's male and female, or you can just completely ignore it, because if you're giving it out to somebody, you know, let them choose later. But there's classes, and then there's races. Then up at the top, the things that it'll take you through, and it really helps if I have this right side up. There's lays out for origins, lays out for your background. Towards the middle, you have two different bonds. You have your mark of the past, which is something that leads towards like something big that would have happened to your character, that it really impacted them. And then you have your impetus, which is, you know, your kind of reason for going forward. So like some of the origins, there's a lot of really cool ones that are also double-sided, kind of like a tarot reading, where there's a castle or a palace, hideout and haven, sacred place, cursed place. Those are some of the origins. Backgrounds include an artist or an entertainer. So kind of like that dual thing that could pop up. A demon or celestial being, pathfinder or conqueror, gunslinger and sharpshooter. And within the different decks, a lot of these range from your typical fantasy, but they also have expansions for sci-fi and futuristic and things like that. And I do keep most of those added in, and I'll kind of like filter them out depending on the type of like reading that I'm doing. But it's a really fun way to go through and develop a character, because especially if you happen to go and you're familiar with tarot readings, there's a lot of ways that if you are good at tarot, that these kind of overlap. and will end up very much so creating a story that you're just like, like we had our Dwarven Rations guy come over and we were just hanging out and I did one for him and we were just chilling and shooting the shit, and apparently the Fatum reading that I did for him, I did not create a character. I put him down. And he was like, no, the bonds, those are two that I have that are very similar to bonds that I am close with as a person. Background and origin, his mark of his past, his reason for going forward. He was just like, what did you just do? And it's a lot of fun and can be really, really weird and really, really interesting. And it's a very fun way that takes like 5 minutes out of your time to be able to like, let's have some fun. To create a fully fleshed out, either I don't know what I'm going to play next, or I needed more in-depth NPC and my brain feels broken right now. Because we've all felt that.
Right? Mm-hmm. So when I did it, I got a very interesting background for what would be an NPC, since I'm being the DM here. You said there's one that also can do like quests or side quests, or...
So that particular system is put out by Nord Games, and it's their story generator.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. This was a nice big fun box set.
All right.
Two completely separate systems itself, but
I think that it was fun to try, and I just want to kind of give everyone an idea of what it is to have this this generator basically for an NPC, and then let's talk as DMs and try and flesh out this character. So if you wouldn't mind, let's run through and create a character, and I'll write it all down.
Would you like? Okay.
That sounds like fun.
I genuinely do have it already set up and set out and shuffled. That's what I've been doing sitting here, just in case that was going to be a thing that was brought up.
I figured you would.
Yeah. I do kind of wish I had a larger thing for me to set this on.
What this reminds me of is in Pathfinder, I can't remember which book has it. I think it's in the original handbook, but for Pathfinder 1, there actually is a sort of random generator that is rolled through percentiles, and it's not nearly as in-depth, but it is very helpful for if you're trying to create a background for a character, not necessarily an NPC, but a character that like, oh, I don't know what I want to do for the character. Well, roll the circumstance of your birth. What's special about how you were born? Were you born to a low-class family, into nobility? Maybe the gods blessed you when you were born. And then what about your adolescence, when you were still a child and learning things? How about the mentor who chose how you chose your class? How about some random person you met along the way? And it gives like these little small things that are just, here's a word or two, figure out the rest, fill in the rest of the details.
Absolutely. Yep. All right, so I believe the first pull is class.
Yes. So I do have the sheet that you have is actually one that I made. So
cool.
So that I could basically do these as free or donated readings at cons and whatnot when I actually have somebody with me who can run my stuff for me.
Great.
So our class, we have an artificer. Race-wise, because why not? And let me know if we also want me to grab the personality trait deck that's in here, because that is one that is available to grab as part of the Fatum stuff, but I usually don't always do it if I'm just like grabbing and going.
Maybe we'll save that for the end.
Yeah. So we have a Dragonborn.
Ooh, okay.
Particularly flipping this, it does happen to be a female one, but if you're taking this character that we're developing and throwing it in, do whatever. I'm obviously not gonna care one way or the other or police it.
Female dragon artificer. Okay. I have an image in my head. Background and origins is next, I believe.
Yes, so I've got origins in my hand. So the artwork for it is more futuristic, but the card that came up I feel can be used in either kind of setting. You found your origins from a secret base. Is kind of where things really kind of kick off for you with this particular character. The background that they particularly come through for is very fitting. They happen to be a scrap dealer.
Okay.
The scrap dealer coming from a secret base turned into an artificer. This is why I say that when you're good at tarot, this stuff really just pulls together. And it's going to be really funny once we keep getting into this. But
right. Why don't we take a quick, do a quick think here, and then we'll add the bonds as we develop this character a little bit. So,
Okay.
Secret base, scrap dealer, turned into an artificer. DMs, what happened to this character that they either needed to or out of interest became an artificer through their background? What are we thinking?
You know, it'd be really interesting if out of that secret base, while searching for scrap, they came across pieces of, if not a full, sort of functioning Warforged.
Ooh. Ooh, I like that. I was thinking they came across a magic item of some kind. A Warforged is a really cool idea as well. Daisy?
I think I was just going more for survival. You know, sometimes the most unexpected things happen to you when you are just trying to survive. So what if you're searching through it, just trying to live, and it became a necessity that you turned into it?
I like that. And as a scrap dealer, I'm very much thinking somebody who is either picking through garbage or going into places that no one else wants to, so that they can get the items that they can then sell, and it is out of necessity. So I'm thinking like Thieves Guild or Black Market, because they're from a secret base, and in one of these ventures they find, I'm thinking either a Warforged or like, what is it that artificers can do? They can like build a protector or something, right? They can build.
Oh, their arcane turret. Or their arcane cannon.
They can build a cannon or a turret.
Oh, the armor, that's right.
Is it? It's almost like the Steel Predator is what I'm thinking of. So maybe this Warforged. Sorry, John. Steel Defender. That's it.
Is that the armor? Is that from the armor subclass? That's the one I haven't played yet. I normally go artillerist or alchemist.
So either whatever route artificer they go, maybe they use this Warforged.
Artificers do get homunculi.
That's true. Maybe they use this Warforged and alter the Warforged depending on if they're adding, artillery or not to it. And since it is a Warforged, which is a playable race, we now have two characters. And potentially, if this was at a table, we could have two player characters through this.
Yeah.
But either way, we're working with two NPCs now. I like this. All right.
And the Warforged is an option. Depends on the setting of your campaign. You could easily sub the Warforged out for an auto gnome if you're more of a Spelljammer style campaign.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we need a bond, and I have a feeling that the bond might either throw a wrench or add to what we've already made. So, what's our first bond?
Our first bond is a relative. And this particular relative, and the bonds do ask you questions about your bonds.
Okay.
And this one asks who? This bond that you have, the relative that you have, is an elemental with a gravedigger background.
Well, scrap dealer. So
Oh,
we
it's
have
about
one
to get even more entertaining.
So
Oh no,
we have an
I'm laughing at
artificer.
Alucard.
Yeah, I'm aware. The puns are happening in chat. So we have an
I'm
artificer
ignoring
who
them.
was a scrap dealer, and we have a relative who was maybe a necromancer and was a grave digger, grave robber. It runs in the family. Look what I made. It's a person.
Can I add a small, unnecessary detail? Because
I'm
this is
scared.
aside from the honestly, aside from being a dragonborn and not a goblin, this is basically Boomy. So far, the only other difference is the relative, like, not really something that could be added or not. Boomy has a sister who has an artificial heart that he basically built for her to keep her alive.
Oh no, that's cool.
It's just because everything else is like slowly falling into place
Yeah.
for like a very similar background or for an actual NPC I play.
Oh man, now my brain is going, okay, so there's a character who's an artificer who made a heart for their sibling that is going to die because the heart's going to give out unless they go and learn how to fix it through their travels, and suddenly I have Karlach. So, moving on. But, we get a second bond. What's our second bond?
The second bond is a former lover. This former
Oh.
lover happened to be undead.
Oh no! Mommy
I mean,
made
sometimes you just want to
Mommy
raise a
made an
family.
undead for us.
Apparently, you met them through your gravedigger relative.
Hey, it's nice to have a family member willing to help you raise a family.
It's not hard to raise them as long as they're buried close enough together.
It's one of my favorite unboxing videos, actually.
Mother, father, brother, aunt, uncle, whatever, whoever was the necromancer made us a boyfriend. Or girlfriend, but still.
They happen to be an entertainer. But with this former lover, it does ask for a second relationship card. They have now turned mortal enemy.
Oh shit.
Oh,
What
the
did-
opposite of enemies to
What the hell
lovers.
did we do?
Maybe
Apparently
we're the
fucked
reason they're
around and
undead.
found out.
Knight, stop it with the puns.
We could be
okay.
the reason that they're undead. They might not have always been undead, and due to our own, or due to the actions of the artificer, they died, and our sibling, or our family member that is a necromancer, brought them back to attempt to mend that. But you know, bringing someone back from the dead, maybe not necessarily with them wanting to, and us being the cause of the death, is why they're now a mortal enemy.
Maybe we were venturing out somewhere too dangerous and we discovered the Warforged, and our lover had been warning us not to go there. It was stupid, and they came along to make sure that we were safe. We got out with a brand new Warforged, and they did not. So we felt bad, took them to the necromancer to be raised, and got a lecture and a mortal enemy. Yikes. Maybe death changed the character somewhat, changed their alignment maybe, but ouch.
Many questions are answered through death.
I am more okay with that than, like, you know, Aunt Stephanie making a boyfriend for her characters out of art. It's like,
Fair.
I made him just for you. I picked every part especially just for you. Only the good ones. Ew. Don't need that in my head. Yeah, no comments, nothing else.
No, I'm pulling up the mark of the past.
I mean, I'm still hung on the Frankenstein entered a bodybuilding contest.
Oh, shut up. Mark of the past. Okay.
So, this mark of your past that really kind of set you on your adventuring path was a rescue mission.
Oh, well. Yeah,
Well then,
her lover died.
I think
so-
we've already determined that.
Well, to who? Who were you trying to rescue? It was a dwarf hunter who happened to be your son.
Oh.
We have a child now?
Apparently.
Well, we're a dragonborn?
I didn't shuffle the cards back in. That is something you can do for the raises. Also true.
Yeah.
Fair. Fair.
They were stuck in some kind of haven. And you had to go rescue them. Because apparently this haven was not that great.
They got out of the Thieves Guild or black market area that we've been stuck in all of our life, and they found a good place to live that would take care of them. And turns out to be to have a seedy underbelly that they didn't know about. I don't know. Daisy, what are you thinking?
Look, my brain always goes for the dark and creepy, so I immediately thought, what if it was a cult? What if they somehow, some way joined a cult and it wasn't the sort of, nice, happy cult? it was very much a more dangerous cult that, they needed not to be associated with.
The drink the Kool-Aid cult?
Yeah, that kind.
Apparently,
actually, it was flavoring.
Scientology has little to do with science.
Yes.
Wait, is our adopted dwarf son named Sandold? I understand that reference. New game at the end of the month. Okay. Anyway.
Look, as long as I can build somebody that can punch that fucker in his egg-headed face, I will be happy. That's all I want out of that game.
Thank you. The only friend I have who actually plays that game is in love with that character, and I'm like, why?
Oh no, I understand why. That's beside the point. Irrelevant. She still wants to punch him in his egg-headed face.
I have no idea what game you guys are referring to.
Dragon Age.
Oh, I played Dragon Age Inquisition for about 2 hours and got bored.
Oh, dude, you missed out on so much. You got to give it another chance. It's a good game. Replayable. I played it like so many times. Anyway, we are off task. Okay, so we have a son that joined a cult, and the cult was not a good one. Knight did throw into the anti-civilization druid cult. So
I do still like my joke of like Scientology. Quite literally, it could be a matter of our adopted son decided that they wanted to go into a group that thought was based on science to become closer to being an artificer like their parent, and science. The scientists were not scientists.
what would Scientology look like in D&D?
Probably not much more different than it is in the real world.
Yeah, that's probably true. Let's say you couldn't go the Charles Manson route either, where it's a deadly cult where they're going after people.
True. Maybe like a warlock who has an evil patron that wants to collect souls, basically, is gathering either other people to be warlocks to go out and get more souls, or just, bring them all together and then sacrifice their souls to this patron. Or
Mormons.
we could go back to the first topic of the day and go back towards, the kinky side of things. Just take your pick.
That's not the contract I signed.
All right. I'm going to put a pin in Mark of the Past. What is our reason for moving forward?
Our reason for moving forward happens to be a rivalry with an half-elf who happens to be king.
Wait,
Damn.
the king?
Mm-hmm.
Shit. Why do we know the king? Why do we have a rivalry?
Why did this turn into an anime?
Yeah.
but that extra bond says that they are an enemy.
So the king is our enemy rival?
Mhm.
What the hell did we do to piss off the king? We must have like built a franchise on our scrap dealer, or like become a good enough artificer to make the black market thrive, and we don't pay taxes, so the king hates us. That's about what I
Ooh.
got. I don't know, Himbo
So
or
would it
Daisy.
have to be like a king of a realm though, or could it just be like he's like the king of thieves
Ooh.
or something, underling?
Maybe his
and
name's just King.
I mean, that's an option too.
Chat
mean-
says maybe they're the reason for the son to be up for adoption. Oh
Or-
shit! Did we adopt a prince?
Or what if they're king of the cult, and that would give them an extra incentive?
A completely
fuck.
different route could also be that, like, going back to our NPC or PC's childhood, learning to be an artificer. Their rival in being an artificer, they were one of those like princes that goes out and like hides away and mingles with the commoners. You both characters gained a love of like tinkering or machines or something, and had to grow up like simultaneously enjoying the same thing but through separate life paths. So when interacting with each other again, you were able to pursue being an artificer while they had to take on more noble duties, and that is why they're your rival.
Oh my god, this is such an anime. Our main character is broke and has to go steal scraps in order to bring stuff to class and impress the teacher, while the rich prince kid can go buy all the best stuff and always is beating him at every presentation, until finally during the finals he comes back with a warforge that he made. And then that starts the rivalry. This is such an anime now.
Yeah.
This is why I said that if you know tarot stuff, sometimes the way these play out and build together is eerie.
Also,
And
if you're able to
fun.
just be really creative in things, they seem to be just vague enough to be to just be print in place wherever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, Void added, I was thinking the king off the parents of the child, making him an orphan, so you adopt him as your son. So that's why I think that would make the king more an enemy than a rival. Rivalry means
Why
that
does
you
that
know them, but
Why does that sound like
definitely a thought.
Once Upon a Time?
Yeah.
We're watching that right now, hilariously enough.
Yeah, it sounds very similar. Like the role reversal slightly, but it's right there.
Yeah. So again, like all of these are just thought exercises. So if it leads you down a certain path and a card doesn't fit, then throw that card out. And this is just like developing an entire campaign in my head right now. we've got the underbelly, we've got the higher ups, we have some sort of secret cult going on. Now we've got a necromancer that is our relative that is maybe making boyfriends and girlfriends to sell for people. That's their entire job. God, there's got to be a punny name in building
Yeah, Reaper.
building an undead spouse. What did you say?
I mean, Lisa Frankenstein did it.
Yeah. I'm thinking Build-A-Bear, but something different.
Build a bro.
And it's my job to steal and rob.
Oh my god.
Praise.
Nah, we have so many
That's
ideas
gonna
here,
be
but
stuck in my head all night now.
just from these card pulls, I now have an NPC in mind that is a necromancer who Frankenstein's builds undead to sell so that people could have their perfect boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever they want. That's just horrifying.
Okay, but now because of Repo, I'm obsessed with the idea that this necromancer only harvests organs and stuff and does like full-on skin grafts to people and like rebuilds their body parts, and it requires necromancy to get those dead body parts back in living order.
So
Now that
fewer
kinda sounds-
people.
It's starting to sound like Crimes of the Future, where you bring in the science portion of it to make sure that whatever parts that you do replace are going to stay in working order.
Yeah.
So if you,
imagine
this is like a
the prosthetic-
necromancer cleric.
Imagine it's like it's a family-run business for prostheses. You can either have a robotic one or a donated, quote-unquote, donated organic one.
This would cause like fewer deaths in the city, so it's going to lead to so many issues that people are living longer, people are healthier because their lung that was giving out has been replaced. So the city's going to get overpopulated. We're going to have food shortages. We're going to have the doctors and clerics of the town pissed off because they don't get the money and ties that they used to.
But at the same time, it's got to have like
the repo men.
A pseudo steampunk aesthetic behind it because of how many people are walking who can't afford the full-on like organic replacements and have to go with the mechanical ones. And those that do have the organic replacements have like solid stitched lines separating them. And some people who don't need the prosthetics are going just for changing out body parts so they're better. So like an orc who decides that they want a hobgoblin's arms for better reach.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Oh god, this is.
Or what if you want 7 ears to hear better?
Yep.
You'd rather have a cephaloid's lower half, so you have the tentacles.
See,
And I
now
mean
we're
that
back
for
to that
tactical
book again
reasons.
earlier.
No,
I mean that for tactical
no.
reasons.
I mean, now it's just body modifications is kind of what it sounds like, is where you could, create anything, your deepest, darkest secrets about yourself that you could possibly create.
Yeah, but at that point, only the rich are able to afford these like high-end body modifications with properly working organs versus those that maybe don't have the money and are actually injured and prosthetics and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
You could even pull from Robber Baron, where there are factories being run by children who are losing limbs because what else are they going to do without safety?
Yeah.
You can make an entire country built around the idea of people losing limbs and needing them to be replaced versus people who remove their limbs to get them replaced. And at a certain point, being able to tell who is who becomes blurred.
Well, and I hate to say this, but if you are going to be living longer, and he mentioned factories, that's not to say that you couldn't come up with some kind of idea to, help stave off the hunger. Soylent Green was a thing. So,
I mean, yeah, food is.
We learned to
going
pack
be
the
in
cans
short
of meat and not to
supply.
question where it's found.
that's all right.
Question that's coming to my mind though, what one is more expensive? Because in my mind, the artificer modifications should be more expensive because of the material and magic that goes into that, whereas the arms that you get off a hobgoblin, you just kill a hobgoblin and you get it. Maybe you have to pay for some mercenaries to go fetch you a hobgoblin body.
Well,
Which one's more expensive?
I would consider that the body parts would be more expensive because you wouldn't want to go necessarily removing body parts from people unless, repo style, they aren't paying for it. But full on like digging them up from graves or people who have passed away. And now you have to harvest an organ that is harvestable, that is still working and isn't completely destroyed in itself.
That's
Meanwhile, an artificer just has to find enough gears to tinker something together, and they do it in a day.
I'm imagining some kind of contract that they make where it's like, how people will donate their body to science, when they pass away, and they have that established before they die. It's kind of like, yes, I will give my body, my family will give my body to you when I pass away. You will pay them 50 gold, something like that. Like you enter into a contract where they come and pick up your body very much bring out your dead style.
Oh, imagine even farther if you look at the family that runs this business and you go farther back and like go back 12 generations, that great emptieth grandparent is now considered a warlock patron of like the threads of life. And because of that, they imbue a slight amount of magical contracting into every prosthetic, where like if you don't pay on time, it removes itself from your body and walks itself back to your shop, like Thing from Addams Family.
Ooh. Well, also there could be, you know, some fine print on that contract where you donate your body that you are also, you know, going to give your soul to the patron.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you're gonna have a world this dark, though, where this is an option, then why not have some kind of like a post where you can say, hey, this person didn't fulfill their side of the contract. They are now up for fill in the blank. And whoever wants it bad enough is going to go after it so that they can, you know, repair themselves or mod themselves, whatever it is.
At this rate, we're just describing Shadowrun.
At this point, we're just describing Repo the Genetic Opera.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
I mean, and like Boyd just
Cyberpunk,
said,
Repo, Shadowrun.
I feel like this would work with the meme, people give a kidney and be hailed a hero, but if I donate 7...
Boyd mentioned it, yep.
But why care for these petty obsessions?
What?
Swear to God, he's trying to get Repo. He's quoting Repo at me, and it's going to be stuck in my head all night.
There is a line. Why care for these petty obsessions? Your designer heart still beats with common blood.
Common blood.
Okay.
If you've not listened to and or watched it, highly recommend. It is actually one of the few times something is called an opera, and it is.
Sarah Brightman is in it, if that gives anybody any extra incentive. Also, Paris Hilton is in it, and I didn't realize that it was Paris Hilton until the scene where her face falls off.
Oh, well.
Now, my concern is everyone has their opinions on the movie, except for Blind Mag. She's still on the fence.
That one hurts. No.
Wow.
That one hurts almost as much the Shao Tucker memes.
Yeah.
About Nina and the damn dog.
Oh, I wish my camera was working. I'd show you my tattoo.
Never seen it. Not a fan of musical, but it still sounds interesting.
Highly recommend. And also, it's technically not a musical. It is in fact an opera. An opera is any form of play or performance where there are no spoken words.
True. That is true. All right. Well,
sorry, I'm bringing us off track.
We have taken Artificer Dragonborn that is now turning into an entire campaign setting.
You're welcome.
So, this is what happens when you get DMs in a room together.
This is actually quite literally one of the planets I built for my campaign, though it's missing half of it. I have twin planets in my campaign called Zeron and Zero, one of which is a steampunk smog-covered industrial planet covered with people who are working to the death in slums, and the other one is a industrial steampunk sort of planet covered in innovations and stuff that pulls the resources from the first one and doesn't pay its people.
True.
It's really
All
funny.
right,
I feel like I have a set of dice in my stack of stuff for sale that would go really well with this character.
So yes, anybody watching this, feel free to steal this idea for your next campaign. Do it now.
Or
Absolutely.
reach out to me, because I offer them on my shop with either just the reading, with character art, or with dice, or with character art and dice.
Ooh, that's tempting. Okay.
Character art. That's very tempting.
With dice.
That's tempting too.
Multi dice, and her dice are wonderful. I can't show you any of Homebrew Himbo's dice because I have one very gorgeous set that my husband stole from me. That's how impressive they were. But I got this one from Jay, Dark Crescent Studios. It is very shiny, very rainbowy. I love it very much. And this is one of her chunks, and it rolls very well for me. So as I roll a 9, but still, hey, nat 20. I'll take it. Okay, I'll take it. It's balanced.
See?
All right.
This is why I
those
give
numbers are
my
in the same
dice the
side.
blessing. May it roll well for you, or at least fail in hilarious ways. Because I know damn good and well my dice are balanced. They will fail. At least let it be funny.
That is true. All right, y'all. Let's wrap up for today. I've loved having all of you on here, and I love the smaller group as well. It's been nice and intimate for our lovely conversations that we had. Um, and Homebrew and Jay, you've been here before, and Daisy, we'd love to have you back. So let's go around and tell everybody one more time where they can find us. Let's start with Daisy Chainsaw.
I'm Daisy Chainsaw 999 on pretty much any social media platform.
All right, and we've got Jay, Dark Crescent.
I am Dark Crescent Studio on most of the things. And I know it's been in the stuff, but I will plug it anyways. There is a coupon code CAKE that should still be active for 15% off the shop if anybody wants to grab anything. Thank you, Knight, for dropping that. Because I did just see that they dropped that. But I'm on all the things, and come find me. I'm also here on Twitch because I stream both working on my dice as well as my baby dragons and my wood burning stuff and some of my paintings. So you can watch and learn all the fun things.
Awesome. And then we have Homebrew Himbo.
And I am the Homebrew Himbo on basically every social media as well. And you can, if you check out my TikToks specifically, you'll see me making dice or making dice-shaped weapons I call hit dice, or even just me making skits and jokes. And sometimes I talk about homebrew ideas for D&D, and sometimes I'm funny. Other times I'm being bullied by Popo Blanco. It's you never know what you might get.
That is absolutely true. And I am Nerdy Teacher, and you can find me on TikTok, trying to do some YouTube, but no, haven't done that much. But I also have an Etsy store called Ohcrit, OHCRIT, where I sell TTRPG stickers, decals, and miniatures. And one of my new stickers that will be up this weekend reads, "If you're not flirting with your friends and committing war crimes, are you even playing D&D?" So, with that being said, I will see you all in 2 weeks for the next Behind the Screen, and that will be the day after Halloween, hence why I'm wearing my Halloween shirt now. I want to wish everyone a very spooky and wonderful Halloween. Enjoy spooky season because Mariah Carey is around the corner. Exactly. But I wish you all the best and to have a wonderful night. And of course, as always, may all of your rolls be crits. Have a good night, everyone.
Remember to eat, hydrate, and take your meds for those of you who need to.
That too.